Hey, everybody, welcome. This is Books Cafe, sponsored by free-ebooks.net. And today's episode is going to be incredibly exciting for Chaffee because we have that type of mind joining us. It's like that engineer mind, that architect mind. And so he is going to have the best time ever right after this. Welcome, everybody. I'm Scott. He's Chaffee. Let's just dive right into this, right? Like, you're a business coach. You love to help people and all the rest of it. But your background is all like, it's all Asian, right? Like math
Right.
and
That's
science
all
and
we do is
engineering.
math and
You know,
science.
yes. I mean, there are some incredible acrobats, circuses, entertainers coming out of
Oh,
all
don't
places
forget martial arts and karate
and
and kung fu.
the martial arts. But I want to ask you this question before we get right into it now, because I'm kind of curious. Like, because there are certain types of mind. Like, there's people that are just so creative, but to get them to focus on like one thing for any like never going to happen, right? And then there's people that
Kind of
are
like
just
you.
like me. Yeah, this is why we make such a great team. And but like, so in your day-to-day world life, as you're walking through life and everything else, like, do you ever sort of sit back and just go like, I don't know how that person like even survives, like, because they're not, because the mindset is so different.
Well, I say that about a lot of people, although I don't think it's about because of their mindset. It's just that they don't think sometimes. So
Okay, I agree with you on that. That's for sure. But I'm just sort of wondering because I don't, right? Like, I mean, but I just wonder if, but I don't think about it that much. I mean, I think about it now today because of our guest, right? And and oftentimes when we're on and everything else, like I love the way your mind works, and but I sometimes just think like, oh, well, I would just wonder is because I mean, I watch how some other people's minds work, and I don't know how they managed to live as long as they've lived, to be quite honest, right? So
that's putting it nicely, I guess, right?
it is, it is, and I'm sure, and I know, I'm not sure, I absolutely
I,
know because
I
people
just
have
want you
told
to
me
know,
the
though,
same
I've
thing.
been told that I'm the most non-engineer engineer that some people know. So,
Okay, so all right. In my mind, and this maybe is a prejudice that is I mean, I'm sure it is incorrect, because it's not ever going to be everybody who's a architect or an engineer or a
or
scientist,
Asian.
but it's just, or Asian or South Asian or North Asian or North American. But anyway, like we have these generalizations, and oftentimes we'll laugh about them, but we know like it's this generalization, and there's always exceptions, right? Like, and you can have a lot of fun with it. But it was just something I was just thinking. Like, do you ever think like, wow, like the way these people think is just way out there, right? And not because of politics or any of that sort of stuff, but just because there are certain what how does Jay call it, that mind? There's a he has the different types of minds, right? Like there's very creative, there's very they're
I
very
forget.
happy with
I call it Darwinism.
Darwinism. If you don't have the right mind, you disappear.
That's right. Survival of the fittest. And some people, they're just not so fit, up here or like anywhere. So
But they live and they survive and they anyway. So
there's by the way, since we're talking about books, I don't know if you have it here. There's a good series of books called the Darwin Awards. So you read the Darwin Awards. So it's a whole series of books about things that people do, and like surprisingly, they're still alive. So.
I was in the Everglades of Florida, and I don't know, I never remember if it's alligators or crocodiles, but there's big lizards and they have big mouths. And we were walking. This friend of mine and I, we were walking, and the way that they do it is they have like this wooden path that is this far above the water. Okay. And so we were laughing. We were just thinking like, how did they build this thing? Like they got these carpenters in hip waders in the water banging away as the alligators come and chew on their legs or something. Like it was really funny. But then we started talking to one of the rangers, and there's because there's basically like there's paths all over the place, and they said, yeah, like there's this 20-foot alligator like laying in the sun on the side of this path, and everybody's just walking by it like, oh look, isn't that cute? And the thing can go like 50 miles an hour in 2 seconds, right? Like if it wanted to eat you, you can't get away. And they're like, get away, get away, get away. And everybody was just like, oh, it's so cute. The Darwin Awards for whole groups of people. Well, our guest today would never, ever even be an applicant for the Darwin Award. She's a genius. She's in the Philippines. She's a licensed architect and former overseas Filipino worker. And she shifted to a freelance career. She fondly calls herself the digital architect. She now works full-time as a freelancer, where she learned digital marketing strategies that have helped her with her online career. She now helps other architects transition their business into a shift in virtual operations. She enjoys the freedom of working at home or practically anywhere. And I would suggest that if she hadn't made this change, the last year and a half or 2 years would have been incredibly difficult. So where was I? She enjoys working with freedom of home or practically anywhere, still doing what she loves most, which is creating marvelous architectural projects. It is the best of both worlds, and she now has the whole world as her client in the comforts of her home. This gives her the freedom to enjoy life, work at her own pace, at her own time. And that's actually something I love about what I do, is that working at your own pace, at your own time. When she's not working on her architectural projects or at construction sites to manage the construction, or on stage delivering value bombs in her talks on workshops and webinars, she likes to travel around with her daughter and spend days as a digital nomad for their J&J adventures. So with that, want to welcome to the show JP Espino. Welcome.
Yay!
Hi, Scott and
Welcome.
Jackie. Thank you for having me. I don't know about being a genius, but yeah, I'll try to, tell everybody what I can share to them.
Awesome. So whereabouts in the Philippines are you, JP?
I'm in Manila right now, but I
So you're like
stayed
right in Manila, or are you in one of the
right
suburbs?
in the middle of Manila.
Nice.
So right in the center of the city.
Wow.
I'm still getting used to it because I stayed in Boracay. It's an island of the Philippines for a long time. So I came back here to spend Christmas with my family.
Oh, nice. So, as you know, I'm a digital nomad. I'm in Cuenca, Ecuador right now. Next month, I'm going to be in Lima, Peru. And after that, I don't know where I'm going to be. I might be knocking on Chaffee's door in Chicago. But um, what I always want to know is, how is the Wi-Fi? And um, I know a few years ago, I was in the Philippines and Manila and Bali, and it was kind of iffy. So has it been improved? I mean, Manila is a big city, so it's going to be fine there. I'm more curious because I don't want to go to Manila. I've been there. That's not. I like it. The city's fine, everything else. But I mean, if I had a choice between Manila and islands with the beach and everything, I'm going to take the island with the beach and the hammocks every time. So that's what I'm curious about. When you get into the islands, you're out of the main city areas. Like, how is it?
Well, in Manila, internet is also not so good, but it's a bit better compared to Boracay, compared to being in an island. Another problem in being in the island would be the power outages. So, but the good thing with my work is that I don't work on a per hour basis. Unlike other freelancers that they have to be online at certain time and they have to, time in and time out at this time, and they have to be recorded on how long they have to work. So I can still get away with internet problems as long as I can still work offline and just deliver it through email or through other
Nice.
transfer cloud system. Then I would be fine. So I will just have to wait for a better internet connection or wait for it. So, but at least it's not a problem for me.
Right.
So that actually
What you're
gives
saying
me
is
a
it
bit
would be a
more freedom.
problem for me. It would be a
Mm-hmm.
problem for me because I would be going chat e
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like
and
what happened last week with Ricky. So
well, Ricky was constantly getting kicked off, right? So he'd start telling a story, and we're such good friends, right? Like he would start telling the story, and then he disappeared, or he'd go like this, and then I would jump in and I'd finish the story, right? So I didn't tell you this, Chaffee, but he sent me a message afterwards. He says I watched the show, and boy, did you ever do a good job of finishing my stories.
that's funny.
Hi, Ricky. I know you're going to be watching this sooner or later. We love you, man. So you wrote a book. Show us the book
Mm-hmm.
first of all, and then tell
This
us
is my
about it.
book.
Architects
Yeah, it's
Going
called
Digital.
Architects Going Digital. How to plan, build, and market your architecture business in the digital age. So, just like what you've been talking with Chaffee, that you know, we we do have a certain Asian mind, more on a math, and I don't want to talk about calculus or how to get to creating architectural. But the problem with architects in the Philippines is that yes, we're taught about math, we're taught about design, we're taught about history of architecture, theory, and all that, but we were never taught how to build our business. And basically, that's what we need in the real world. So I thought of writing this book so that I could guide everybody, or at least the Filipinos, on how they will be able to market their business. The good thing is that it's specifically meant to be used in the digital age. So I'm quite right at the timing of being in the pandemic, being in quarantine. So everybody has to shift their operations into virtual operations. So I kind of nailed it on that. That's why I was very happy that my first printing sold out in in 2 months. Yeah.
Good for you. That's
Nice.
awesome. So I want to ask a really important question here because we have a worldwide audience. Is the book applicable for people in North America, in Europe, in Africa, in South America, or is it only for um, Vietnamese and Filipinos?
Yes, definitely. There's a chapter here on how to register as an architect in the Philippines. But the rest of the book, about 95% of the book, is applicable to everybody else. Basically,
Nice.
it teaches you how to, put yourself out there and start marketing yourself online, and how you will get your clients online. So yes, it's applicable everywhere. But as of the moment, we're still processing the ebook, because I only have the physical book, and we still have to apply for the ISBN for the ebook. But I believe we will be able to finish the processing, and it will be available worldwide on January.
Oh, nice. That's exciting.
So,
Cool.
with that architectural engineering mind of yours, can you walk us through the process of how you wrote the book, like how you came up with the book, or designed the book, or the
Mhm.
chapters, like how you came up with the chapters, like what kind of thought process went behind that, and what was your development process for actually writing that book?
Yeah, actually, years ago, I had problems getting clients. It's always been a problem here in the Philippines, because maybe some of you would say that the profession is not as respected, meaning um, a lot of people would not hire an architect because they think they can get away with it. Although it is still, a ruling, is part of our laws to get an architect in whatever structure that you want to build. But so the problem with that is that it's getting hard for us to get clients. So a few years ago, I would probably get just one or two projects per year. And then because I worked online, I worked freelance because of getting to know a lot of digital nomads like Scott. I learned the strategies of digital marketing, and with digital marketing, I started getting more clients, attracting more clients, and I kind of formulated a way on how architects like us will be able to use those strategies so we can get more clients. It started with a workshop. Prior to the pandemic, prior to COVID, I was already doing face-to-face workshop, teaching everybody how they will get clients, teaching everybody how they will be able to, specify their niche, target their market, how to be out there, be online, have an online presence. But after the pandemic, and some people are having internet problems. That's what so I thought of coming up with a book so they could just purchase it and then read it and then use it as a guide. So yeah, I started with workshops, and then I created a book. But I am more active now on online webinars. So there's we have about 400 United Architects of the Philippines chapters, and I probably taught in probably 25% of those chapters already. Basically, still helping them, teaching them how to do digital marketing, teaching them how to do, shifting to virtual operations. So that's what I've been doing for the past few years.
And so the book came from those workshops, or how did the book come about?
The book first came out because of the need, and trying to help other architects how to do it. And then because some are having internet problems, I thought of writing a book so that they could have it at a guide, because I've been doing several webinars, but not all of them will be able to catch it because of the internet problems. So yeah, I thought of just put it out there, write it down so that they could just purchase it and be guided that way.
That
Awesome.
must be very frustrating to be having like this webinar going on, and then all of a sudden something happens, and someone's gone, and then they're back, and then gone, and then they're back, and
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just imagining like, yeah, like I really want to know this information, and then poof, I'm gone and I miss it, right? And then you go, no problem, right? Like, get my book. I mean,
Uh-huh,
that's
uh-huh,
it's
uh-huh.
it's in my world, that's just, it was like we got rid of the books so that, for me, they're all on here. And but it's
Mhm.
just interesting how different parts of the world still have different types of problems that they have to, and it's brilliant that the solution that you came up with, right?
Yeah, thank you.
I
Well,
love it.
basically, every product or every business really starts out with the need. So we just have to follow what the people need. What our market will be able to use for their own, and that's my thought process actually. Um, it started with a problem, with my own problem that I was having difficulty in finding clients. I found a way to solution that, to have a resolution to that problem. And next is how I will be able to help others to do the same.
That's awesome. We're going to take a short break. Connect with us on Facebook, freeebooks.net, our sponsors. So uh, let's talk a little bit now, JP, about the writing process. I'm pretty sure that all you did was get on your computer and just started typing, and then a couple hours later you were done, right?
Yeah, actually.
No,
Well,
you're
let
supposed to go,
me.
no, that's not how it works, Scott. If you say yes, then all the authors tune out because none of them are able to do anything like that.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, of course, there was a process. The good thing is that I was already doing it in a workshop. So I pretty much have the outline, and I know what the people will need, or at least I was always thinking of myself of at the time that I'm having these problems, what are the questions that I have in mind and how I answer them. So it started with just creating an outline, thinking of how the story would flow in a way, although it's not so much of stories, but we all know that the best way to give information out there is to tell a story. So that's how I thought of creating the book, or my process is that I started of thinking of myself, if I was in this problem, I don't have a way of getting more clients. So I started with creating an outline, And then after the outline, I wrote down whatever I was telling everybody in my workshops. But of course, that took a while to edit it because the thinking process of talking to someone physically is very different on how you would like to send out the same message in words or in a book. So
Yes, very
I
different.
asked other people to do the proofreading as well, and then I also asked some contributors to help me. That's why I do have people in every chapter. I have somebody else name and face and whatever is their advice. So they know that I'm not the expert here. I also asked other people to give their expertise or their opinion or their comment in certain parts. Like I have Ginger Arboleda who talked about taxation. I have another another friend who wrote about creating a website. I have another friend who wrote about building a business model or a business plan.
Oh,
So
nice.
we kind of put it all together. But of course, the main content is from me. But I'm quite happy it didn't take that long. Actually, because it was sort of ready, because I've been doing it in a workshop format. We're only able to write it for less than a month. And
In less
you know,
than a
the
month.
one thing, less than a
Wow.
month.
Good
It's
for
about
you.
130 pages, and we wrote it for less than a month. So I work very happy about that. And I call it a pandemic book because the funny thing is because we're in a quarantine, I thought of who would I go to help me publish the book, because we're not allowed to go out. It's probably hard for me to communicate with a publisher. So what I did at 2 a.m. in the morning, I wrote in Google how to become a publisher. I just asked that question and then followed the steps. And you know what, in the next day I got the application approved. That's why this book, I'm the author and I'm also the publisher. So I was
Good for
able to do
you.
it that way, that um the quarantine or the pandemic actually helped me because everything was in email. I don't have to go physically to the application. I don't have to go to because we have to submit the book to National Library. We have to apply for the ISBN. We have to apply for certain, taxes and all that. But because we're in a lockdown, that actually worked well for me, and everything was just online, which is specifically the best part because this book is for the digital age. So it kind of added the pizzazz, the bonus, the saying, "Oh, see, I was able to do it, writing a book in the digital age." So
So
it's
what you're
so
saying,
good.
JP, is if somebody wants to write a book, you find some place that's having some sort of disaster. They're locked down in the pandemic or whatever. You fly in, you stick it out there for a month, and at the end of the month, hopefully, you're not sick and you've got your book done. That's the plan.
It wasn't really a plan. I just wanted to write it down, and that's what I did. I was happy to do it in a month's time, and then when I'm ready to publish, I didn't know who to go to, so I did it all by myself. So yeah, it's
I,
more of
I did it
me.
all by myself. My heart just melted when you said that. Right? I did it all by myself.
Yeah.
Nobody's here to help me. Where were you, Chappie? So what you're
Freezing in
saying,
Chicago.
freezing in Chicago. So what you're saying, JP, is like you didn't have any dark night of the soul or any anguish or gnashing of teeth or anything that authors are supposed to go through before they write their books. You just like step
Uh,
by step by step. I mean, that's the architect in you, right? You
yeah.
have the vision, you have the plan, you have the step by step. The engineer in Chaffee, you have the step by step. And me, if I'm writing a book, I write chapter 10 out of 14 chapters first, which is actually really when I do my writing, like I'll start writing and then I'll go, oh yeah, like that's and then I'll write different sections. It's just crazy. And then it all when I'm done, it all fits together. Like my mind is weird, right? but that's how it works. So
You're special that way, Scott.
I'm special that way. Okay,
Yeah.
so before I forget, I want everybody to make sure that they like, share, and subscribe. All right. So, JP, what's one thing that you would do differently now that you've gone through this whole process and everything else?
Mhm.
I know that you would look back and say, oh, this would be better. I mean, we always do that sort of thing, right? But what would be like one thing that you would do differently if you were to start, what would you tell yourself 2 years ago to do differently than what you did, if there's anything?
Yeah, I think I would probably do more research. Research in a way that, yeah, remember when I wrote this book, I was only thinking of the problem that I went through. And I practically just wrote how I did it. But for it to be more personal, for it to resonate to more people, and people would understand it and really appreciate the book, is to think of how others would need it. So the problem with how I wrote it is that because I didn't ask a lot of people, I didn't do that much research because I wrote it for a month in a month. Um, there are a lot more questions after they wrote the book, after they read the book. So I
So they
get
came back with you with questions, is what you're
yeah,
saying.
they came back with me with questions, which is good because at least I get to connect to them. At least I get to I still get invited for more talks because they
Right.
want more clarification. So it's kind of good for the business because my participation doesn't end the book. But for me to minimize that, to actually give everything, is to ask more questions. So actually, I've been trying to write another book, more of a follow up for this. But yeah, this time it took me a while. It's still taking me. I haven't finished the second book yet because I learned so much the first time I did it. But I'm quite happy. I'm happy that they do appreciate the book. In fact, I didn't expect it to do well. Honestly, I didn't expect it to sell. For me, I only wrote the book so I can call myself an author. That was my only main idea when I wrote the book, and I told myself, if in case it didn't sell, it's okay. I'll just give it away on my page. I'll just give it
Right.
away to my clients. I'll just give it away to people who will need it. But I'm very happy and quite surprised that in the first 2 months, my first printing was already sold out, and I've been getting very good reviews. And up to now, even people in the younger generations are appreciating it. I see a lot of them posting it on TikTok, quoting what I wrote in the book. So I'm
Oh,
really happy
nice.
with what I was able to do with this one.
That's
Awesome.
great. Her second book, by the way, has been 6 weeks instead of a month, and she's frustrated.
No, I've been trying to write a new book for months, but yeah, it's quite different the second time around. The first time was just okay, I'll try it, let's see what happens. But the second one, because of the experience that we went through, or I went through with how this book was taken or was accepted by the people, there's more, I believe, expectation for myself to do better. Unlike the first one,
Mm,
that okay, I'll write a book so that I can call myself an author and then let's see what happens. But this
right.
time, because of that result, I really want to immerse and make sure that the next one would be better, or at least something that will be able to give more of what they expected from the first one.
What's the second book about?
I really want to write something about more on the forms, more on the legalities of architecture, because those are the
Ooh.
things that I got. Those are the questions that I got afterwards. How to write a contract. What are the things that we have to learn from but the problem is in the Philippines, because the contract is not, it's black and white, but it's not written on stone. Each contract should be changed in every client. So Yeah, so those are the things that I would like to write down, or maybe because this one show them how to just register their business, how to start with a business plan, how to find your niche, find your target market. But the nitty gritty, in the sense that the contract, the forms, the all of that, those are the questions that I got afterwards. So that
I
is
can
taking a little more time.
I can tell Chaffee is all excited about this book. Like, yeah, contracts, forms, details. And I'm going, oh no, I don't want to know
No,
anything
I,
about
I think I think she brings up a good point, and the point is that when you're working for a company, they provide all that kind of stuff, right? I
Yes.
mean, you're just an employee. You go in and you do your job, and the company has all that stuff. When you're your own boss and you're running your own business, especially online, I mean, that's you got to think about all that kind of stuff. Your contracts,
Mhm.
your paperwork, your billing, and how all that comes together. And a lot of people sometimes forget about that stuff. They're passionate about their job, what they do. Only when you're running your own business, there's all this other stuff that has to happen as well. And so that's a good point for that second book.
All right. So, JP, we're getting close to the end. We're not at the end, but we're getting close to the end of our time together. And when we do that, we have this ending segment. So I'm going to get Chaffee. Well, I'm going to go first, as long as I don't forget. Sometimes I forget. And then Chaffee will go. And then, so you're going to have a minute or so to figure out what yours is. But coming up next is. So today's tips for authors, and mine is write about things that you know and are passionate about. And I think people say that all the time, or at least I know in Chaffee in my circles, they say it all the time, but I don't think you can say it enough. And I think one of the things that's really obvious to me is your passion for architecture and your passion for teaching architects different things, right? Whether it's the form thing or whether it's online or whatever. And so you're writing about that and you're having success. And I think oftentimes authors who don't have success are not really they're writing about what they think they should write about to be successful, as opposed to having that servant's heart that our friend Jay likes to talk about, and I like to talk about, and Chaffee likes to talk about. I mean, it's obvious you're a servant to architects. They appreciate that. They're attracted to you. Your book is selling out, and you're doing the workshops and everything else. So congratulations. So my tip is make sure when you're writing, you're writing about stuff that you're passionate about. So Chaffee.
My tip is don't let anything stop you from writing a book, because JP had faulty internet, and she said, I'm not letting this thing stop me. I'm going to write a book and get that information out there. And then she had a pandemic, and she said, I'm not letting this dang pandemic stop me. I'm going to get my book out there. And so whatever's going on in your life, whatever's happening, if you got a passion about something, you want to share it, write that book, get it done. Don't let anything stop you, prevent you from happening. Go out there, find the answer, and make it happen.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, JP, the stage is yours. One tip for
Um,
authors or
my
architects.
tip would be almost the same as Chaffee. You know,
I
not
knew
to
it.
overthink.
Two
Not to overthink.
architect engineer minds. You can't think differently.
Yeah. So just like what Chaffee said, um, when I wrote the book, I didn't know if it will sell. I didn't know how to write the book. This is the first book that I wrote, so I just knew that I wanted to do something written down so that other people will be able to read it and get help from it. I'm not sure if it's going to sell. I'm not sure if I'm doing it the right way, but I did it anyway. So
Yes.
because I did not overthink, I was able to produce it. And then after the production, I was able to sell it. I'm not really caring if it will sell. And um, to be honest, right now I'm still learning. I'm still learning on how to market it. I'm still learning on how to respond to people who will need it. I'm still learning on where to sell it. So yeah, if I was the one who started the overthinking, then there's gonna be no book at all. So that's my
Right.
tip for everybody. There's no need to overthink. If you want something done, just try it out. If it doesn't work, then okay. It doesn't matter. If it works, then good for you, right?
That's right. Well, JP, thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to pop up the Facebook page. You've got facebook.com/JP, the digital architect. You also have a website. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's www.thedigital.architect online, but I respond more faster on Facebook. So if they really want to get in touch with me, they could. The better way to do it is through my Facebook.
Okay, good. And I've put that in the comment section. So there it is. And
Thank you.
wherever you're seeing us, head over to Facebook and go to JP, the digital architect. So, JP, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciated
Thank
having
you.
you on. You've been a wonderful guest, even though I sort of feel like it's 2-against-1. But
Oh, yeah.
and Chaffee, thank you for being here. Really appreciate having you on as well. And for our audience, of course, we love you. And authors, keep writing because we need your knowledge and your passion and everything out there in this world. So thank you very much for all that you do. And we'll see you next time, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye bye.
Bye.